when the sun comes up of just how bad the situation is in the southwest part of the state.
We have a crew heading down that way right now, and picture after picture, you see that just happen through there. I don't know how much of a city would be left when you have that much water going right through the middle.
See the water come back in Tampa Bay as well.
Right. Oh, that's a good point, too.
That will be an impressive picture as well. Well, heavy wind and rain are hitting downtown Orlando hard right now.
And Fox 35 counts. She's been
to help
for 2 to 3 hours now. So Marie, I assume you're still right in the thick of it. It looks like.
It seems like I'm right in the thick of it, you guys. So what's so funny to me is my executive producer maybe 10-15 minutes ago, and he said, how's it looking out there? And I was saying, you know, I feel like it's about the same, like not all that bad. The flooding isn't any worse. And then I swear 60 seconds later we got this insane downpour. What you're seeing now is much lighter than what we saw even a few minutes ago. The gusts have also lightened up a little bit, although there are still a few that are just knocking our socks off, knocking us off our feet. I want to show you, I mentioned the flooding did get worse right after I told him it hadn't. So we had been showing you throughout the night this area down here. You can see this entire lane is taken up by water, and it has started extending over the sidewalk. We told you about that. We told you it was getting over into this lane to the right. What we're looking at now, though, is how much is hopped over the curb further down where I was just standing. So we knew about that over there. What's new is how far down the sidewalk it's actually come. And I'll go across the street to show you another new development here. Sorry, I know the wind makes it loud on the microphone. I'll try to turn around to block a little bit of it so you can still hear me. So what's new is on this side of the street, it's also started to flood. So this rain is coming down over here. We thought the issue was how much blockage we had on a gutter. We were pretty sure that was what was causing flooding over here. Now on this side, we're seeing the same problem because of another gutter that's blocked around the curve, and we're seeing the flooding extend out to the neighboring streets, or to this intersection, and that's happening on both sides, so you can see how far it's extending over here. That's happening on the opposite side of the road too, and we've also got some debris coming down because of just all of this water. So it's not just the winds. I mentioned to you that the winds had actually lightened up a bit. It might be hard to believe when you see me struggling out here this much, but the debris is also because just how much water is coming down. That makes the trees really heavy. It inundates the branches with water. It's heavy. It makes them more likely to come down. We did see those downstream earlier because of it, and we're seeing more debris fall now than we had earlier in the day. I'm not going to go over there to show you because I did get hit with a little debris earlier. I'm not doing that again. But we will come back over here because I wanted to demonstrate to you just how far this water has extended up this curve. So like I said earlier, we were looking at this part of the road where we knew the water is coming up on a foot deep there, I'd say. And now it's gone all the way back over here. So whereas it started out maybe to about this point where it had gone over the curb, you can see it's starting to rise up over and over back all the way almost to our car. We expect it'll reach that point in just about no time. Ray and John?
Marie, I would ask you a question, but I wanted you to get out of there because you're starting to worry me.
It's getting a little crazy down there. So we got several more hours of this. So Marie, thanks so much.
Thank you so much to you and your photojournalist, Mike Shiz. We appreciate both of your work.
And our crews all over the place. I mean, from early in the morning all day through, watching this thing develop has just been really something. So.
And you know what I wanted to point out? You could see in the background of Marie's live shot that there are still lights on in downtown Orlando and Orange County. And I don't know about you, but I've been doing some math myself. I've been going to the FPNL, Duke website, and OUC as well. And the numbers, at least from what I've been putting together, and I'll admit, I do news. I'm not a mathematician, but putting together some of the numbers, I'm seeing about 148,000 people without power in Central Florida. That's putting together all the counties in our viewing area. Flagler County is seeing about 2,500, Volusia 22,000, Brevard 13,000, Duke Energy reporting 111,000 out in Central Florida alone.
It's really amazing to
It's
me.
incredible that it's not worse.
Right.
We're expecting a much...
Now granted, there we had the map. I was hoping you guys could pull that up very quickly. So look at this tracker down there, though. So you see the difference between Southwest versus where we are right now. Every single person in DeSoto County, which is down there, southwest part of the state, is out without power. Almost everybody in Charlotte, almost everybody in Lee, Hardy. Now, they got it a whole lot worse. But, I've worked in these hurricanes for a long time, too. I mean, a lot of storms will give us more power outages than what we're having right now. So the crew said they were trimming the trees, getting all the pieces in place, having the crews there. And boy, it certainly worked at this point.
Yeah, it really has. And it's just incredible that, in downtown Orlando, you're seeing all that wind and all that rain. And all the lights are still on. The high rises behind her, all the lights are still on. Good to see it. We hope it stays there.
People are, I guarantee you, and yeah, there are some people without power. The numbers, like you mentioned, are still... People are suffering tonight, but for people at home tonight, not having to worry about the air conditioning at this point.
Oh my goodness, what a relief that is.
Being able to clean up in the morning. So this has worked out about as well for us now.
As we could hope.
Really, that's true. Yeah. The word catastrophic kept coming up.
Yes, it did. Yep.
Down there it is. For us, so far, so good.
Fingers crossed.
Right, yeah, let's hope it keeps going this way. New video just into our newsroom right now. Matt in Poinciana sent us this from a look out in front of his home. Looks like a bit of a canal there. It's not normally a canal, but it's a street. Flash flood warning still in effect for Osceola County, and that's until 2:45 this morning. So another hour 45 minutes or so. And our live team coverage of Hurricane Ian continues with Fox 35's Deborah Cho. She's live in Daytona Beach.
Deborah, what are you seeing out there? Because I know that you've been seeing it be pretty much quiet. Yeah. Not a lot of people out there at all, and it looks like it's still that same way now.
Yeah, it is. So Ray and John, I will say this is probably within the last couple of minutes, probably the strongest wind gusts that we've seen. And I know Brooks was mentioning earlier how Daytona Beach was seeing some of the strongest in our viewing area. So this is pretty strong stuff. But I want to show and bring your attention to actually there's a down power pole behind me. I'm at Oak Ridge Boulevard and Halifax Avenue. Power pole, it is literally hanging on by that power line. Look at that. And it's literally just been swaying back and forth, up and down. Probably about 10 minutes ago, I saw about 15 power company trucks come by. I actually reported this power line. Called the Daytona Department's non-emergency number. And I reported it, and I let them know, there's no sparking or anything like that, but was this the right number to call? And they said yes. So if you end up seeing any of these downed power lines in your area, to report it to the non-emergency number. And they said that they would either turn off the power in the area, or they put some sort of cones or something up for people to just stay away. Now, we are safe distanced away from it, but you can see it could be pretty dangerous if that does come down. Obviously, it could knock out some power in this area, but look at it. It's just going up and down, and that wind definitely picked up since then. And of course, this is a little nerve-wracking for people as they're going to sleep tonight. It is now in the early morning hours as this hurricane moves through the area. So of course, we're going to keep an eye as we're getting absolutely pounded here. I'm going to send it right back to you guys. We're going to get...
Yeah, that makes sense because we're seeing the radar right now where she is, and that weather is coming in. Yeah, get in the car, Deborah. Get safe. And thank you so much. And she's leading by example, calling in any down lines. That's a good tip that she gave our viewers. If you see something like that, don't get close. Give a call to the non-emergency line so they can put up some cones and keep any potential people, any passerbys away from that area.
You can see where she is right now. It's almost directly above my head. So you got these big bands swinging around right now. That's why the winds really kick up at this point. All right, so our team coverage continues tonight. Fox 35's Dave Puglisi has made his way to Lakeland at this hour.
And he is right next to, I believe, the Thunder truck. Dave, how's it looking out there?
Ray, well, the winds are really picking up. That's why we're so close to the Fox 35. It's protecting us from that wind. I'll take a step out here just to show you how it's been. First, these winds, this is where we... Here at this Quality Inn, we only got a quick little nap Thunder truck before we wanted to get back out here and show you these conditions. The winds have been howling here all night outside of our window. Some of the worst of it coming just after 9 p.m. last night when we were getting some significant gusts from the storm, which at the time was still a Category 3. Of course, it's worsened now. But let me show you how strong those winds are. Take a look at this metal sign right out front of our hotel. Just bent clearly right in half, right at the base. You can also see two other signs in the parking lot hanging on by a thread right in between those two cars where these winds are kicking up. But one of the things that we were lucky about here is we still have power. But you can see this intersection, no power. The hotels across the street, the gas stations, none of them have power. Most of the places up and down this street no longer have it. So we were lucky enough to be safe enough at this Quality Inn last night, but things have been very difficult out here in Lakeland. The storm has passed us, the main part of it, but we're still getting those heavy bands of wind and rain. It's going to be a long day here in Lakeland for these people who've already dealt with so much rain and so much wind. This hotel, again, is booked solid, as well as the other 7 in this area. It took us forever just to find a place to stay. Most of these people were escaping mobile homes. That's what some of them were telling me, and it's just been an experience out here. But we're going to have more throughout the morning with the Fox 35 Storm Team Thunder Truck as we continue to track Hurricane Ian. That's the latest in Lakeland. Dave Puglisi, back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Dave. And that area, by the way, Polk County, about without power at this point. So that's one of those counties that's really taking it hard right now.
And I think he was showing us a good example of, hey, we have power here, but right across the street over there, we don't have power. So it just goes to show you the difference really block by block.
Right, but he was also a little further south. And I mean, he's going to be kind of right on the bottom here. So hopefully it's going to start clearing up for him as that dry air. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, start moving up this way. All right, live team coverage continues. We got everybody out there right now. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth is in Mount Dora this morning.
And Randy, what is it like there where you are?
Well, I want to start with the good news. As I've looked down some of the side streets, and if we look across the property here at the Lakeside Inn, you can see that the lights are on here. So we still have power. So we'll start with that. In terms of the conditions here, it's been on and off, heavy wind and heavy rain. It's kind of slacked off, but right before you came to me, there will be like a strong burst of wind, a strong gust of wind, and then rain. In terms of across the county, the sheriff's office reporting that they have already had to do some major cleanups with huge trees growing, falling across the roads. Here, just in doing a quick walk of the property before we went live, I'm seeing damage like this. Some of the limbs coming down. There's moss on the trees behind me. So limbs like this coming down on the property. And one of the things that I talked to emergency responders and then also checked in with staff here, they are seeing people move out of their homes and go to either check in at this Lakeside Inn so that they can hunker down, but then also go into the emergency shelters available across the county. The emergency responders say they have gotten up to over 830 people checked in across the 15 shelters that are open. When I checked in right before air with you from this location, staff here say that they have a combination of people from as far away as Tampa and as close as Orlando coming here to hunker down with the storm. And then also when I checked in with emergency officials, they are still very concerned about the Astor area in the northern part of Lake County, specifically monitoring the St. Johns River and the impact that that has had in that area. They are saying across a 5-day outlook that they are concerned that we will potentially get to a major flood, like a crest with the river in that area closer to Friday. And then we also have to think about the waterways that are impacted by that. This location, you won't be able to see it in the dark, but right behind me is Lake Dora. And so I spoke to staff here. They say that is one of the waterways that is fed or gets water from the St. Johns River. So we have to monitor bodies of water like that, and then also think about long term that water has to go somewhere. So just again, a recap of what we're seeing here: bursts of wind and bursts of rain. From this location, debris coming down like this across the county. We've seen some trees go down, but we do have power, and we of course will continue to monitor the conditions. I'll go ahead and send it back to you.
All right, thanks, Randy. Yeah, Lake County is only about 10% without power right now, so that's good news for those guys.
Video now from the Naples Fire Department. It shows jet skis driving along the flooded roads. You can see there's actually a firefighter right on the back of the jet ski. The caption of the video says, sometimes even we need a ride to the rescue. And you know, the Naples Fire Department really has been showing us on social media kind of the trials and tribulations that they're going through just to do their jobs because of all of the water that's come into that area.
And we're going to see a lot of videos from them tomorrow as they get out there and they start assessing the damage, because they're, again, that's one of the worst areas in the entire state right now.
Oh my gosh.
All right, look at this one. Viewer Gabriel Taylor shot what looks like a tornado forming in Osceola County. We're told the ominous funnel was spotted forming in the Deer Park area near where Sapling Lane meets Highway 192. Again, he didn't stick around very long. Smart, good thing to do.
Yes.
And he got out of there quickly. If you see something like this, get somewhere safe very, very fast.
Yeah, Sanford has been getting hammered with some heavy rains, winds, even some flooding. We're hearing some of that rain right here in Lake Mary as well.
It just kicked up on us once again. And Fox 35's Amanda McKenzie is there tonight. So, Amanda, I know you got to be out in it because we're hearing it here and you're not too far from us.
That's right, and the wind and the rain has really picked up right now. You can see it coming in at a slant, and it is pushing against my body, but I want to bring your attention to what is behind me right here. This is the St. Johns River Steak and Seafood Restaurant. This used to be an awning in front of the entrance. The wind has taken it down and tangled it right in front of the front door, and parts of it are here on the street. Now you can just feel that wind. It is really strong right now. We are right next to Lake Monroe, so we are here in Sanford where we're getting a lot of those strong wind gusts right now. You can even take a look at the palm trees over here, just how much they are waving in the wind. Now, one thing we would like to tell people, if they are thinking about getting out on the roadway this morning, we are not far from First Street, and we were about to drive through it until we realized this water was getting a lot deeper than we thought. It looked from a distance here in the dark. So it was several inches deep. We had to turn around and find another route, and that's when we saw what appears to be a lot of damage here at the restaurant. A couple inches of water puddled in certain areas of Sanford right now, but so far this is the most significant damage we have seen from the wind here at this restaurant. Reporting live in Sanford, Amanda McKenzie, Fox 35 News.
We are getting our first look at some real damage in our area. That's the first time I see that, and I mean, it's impressive.
Yeah, it really is. And you know, normally we talk to these reporters, but right now we're in some of the worst, and they've always said around 2:30 or so.
That's when we were going to see the thick of it.
Now we know the storm is actually moving ahead quicker than what it was, so we're seeing a little bit earlier. So this is probably the worst of it for the Orlando Metro right now.
So we rather get them to safety than ask them any more questions than have them hanging outside more.
I'm sure they feel that way as well.
Exactly.
All right, how about this video?
That right there is someone who loves cats. A daring rescue caught on camera in rushing floodwaters. It's hard to tell, but a cat was stranded on top of equipment along the side of a home in Bonita Springs. Not for long. This guy jumped in to help. This was earlier in the evening. Obviously, you could see it's still daylight. That's when Hurricane Ian was just making landfall with wind speeds topping out at 150 miles an hour. Yeah, the water not stopping. A feline lover took the cat, hoisted him or her right over his shoulder, and off he went, saving the pet from the rushing water.
That's a part of that storm surge we saw. I mean, the water coming in that fast, that's dangerous. But he got the cat, so he did what he needed to do.
Despite all that water and all whatever was rushing underneath him.
All right, let's go to Palm Bay now, see what they have going on. More power problems. This was caught on camera by a viewer, Raven, saying that's a fire sparked by damaged electrical equipment. You can see it glowing right behind the trees there, that big bright orange glow. Again, don't try and deal with down power lines or any damaged electrical equipment, especially because it's so wet out there, and you know how all this works, right? We don't have to go over it again. If you're standing in the water when you try and fix it or move it out of the way, you're in big trouble, so just be aware of that.
And you know, as one of our reporters did, she called for help when she saw down power lines.
Come out for that.
That's the thing to do. Another video from a Fox 35 viewer capturing the storm in Osceola County. Irene Boltrin caught video on her phone of the rain that's now really coming down in St. Cloud. Those palm fronds on the right side, a good indication of just how strong the wind is blowing there. Standing water is also building up in her neighborhood on her street. So that's, of course, something we've been warning you about throughout the evening, really, about the ponding on the streets.
It's coming down so strong right here.
Yeah, we can hear it. We're trying to talk over the sound of that rain falling overhead on us.
What's interesting, normally you can hear it up there on that roof, but we're actually hearing it on the side of some of the buildings right now, so it's coming sideways. All right, Hurricane Ian continues to barrel across Florida, and it's pushing off to the east, so that's good news. It's moving ahead of schedule.
Fox 35's Nestor Mato joins us live now in New Smyrna Beach. Nestor, I imagine that this right here is moving towards you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, in the last couple hours, the wind, the rain has really picked up because we were seeing that squally weather. You know how it passes by, there's a lull, and then it picks up again. It's been a little bit more consistent now as we expect Hurricane Ian to make its way through the state. I want to show you how it's looking behind me. We see some street flooding starting already. You can see some tree limbs and branches are down, but this is just the beginning for this area. In fact, Volusia County actually posted that they believe the worst of it will start at 2 a.m. and continue for the next 12 hours. As we've been reporting, it is expected to be a slow-moving storm, and I can tell you that New Smyrna Beach, the north and south causeways are shut down until further notice. So anybody obviously trying to make it to the beach is not going to be able to. Barracuda Bridge is also closed until further notice. Another thing to note is that Volusia County deputies, they've actually deployed their high water rescue teams out there, so they have boats ready to go. So if you're in an area that floods out, that is not accessible to cars or vehicles, they can come out and go ahead and rescue people too. So everything is already pretty much set up. There goes my hat. So I'm going to send it back to you guys for right now, but I'm live in New Smyrna Beach. Nestor Malto, Fox 35 News.
Nestor said, I got to go. My hat is in the wind, and I am not going to take it. I have a long shift ahead of me, and I'm going to try to find it. Nestor, be safe as you're trying to get that hat in the water, because we are seeing some ponding there.
Yeah, he's got 12 more hours to go.
Strong winds, too.
So.
And this is what Brooks was talking about, and Jamie both, that we're seeing the squall move towards him, and that's why the wind is picking up, taking his hat with it.
Yeah, all right, so let's take a look here. I stepped out back just a little bit ago. Raining very hard in Lake Mary right now. You can see that's the video.
Oh, wow.
We're hearing all this rain. That's what's going on right now. That's right outside our studio. So winds have picked up, then they died down, and then they picked up again. It's just been like this for the last few hours. No major flooding to report in our parking lot right now.
Well, so that is, whew. Right. I was worried about that.
Because sometimes we do. We do. We have a retention pond out back that at times with a good rainstorm, just in the summer, will fill up with frogs. So.
And we were and we were worried about the gusts and the trees in the parking lot as well. That was another.
But they're doing okay. I mean, and that's the one thing. We spoke with the mayor of Mount Dora earlier tonight. I know Winter Garden, Winter Park, they normally have issues, but we haven't heard a whole lot of downed trees onto power lines. And in those areas with those old growth trees, those were the ones that are concerned. And they're doing fine so far. They did the right things in anticipation and preparation.
And it goes along with the power outage situation that we're talking about. We're not seeing a huge number like we were expecting to in all those huge moss trees. Fox 35's Connor Hansen continues our team coverage now.
Yes, he is in Orange County. He's been out there for the past couple of hours monitoring things. So tell us what you have going on there. You're in Winter Park right now. What are you seeing?
That's right. Well, just like you were talking about a second ago, we're seeing it pick up, then let down, then pick up a little bit. We're in one of those moments where we're really seeing the wind and rain pick up. Just a second ago, it was blowing my jacket, but now it's down a little bit. We're standing right outside the Emergency Operations Center for Orange County. This is where all the county leaders, like Mayor Demings, emergency managers, will stay here through the storm, keeping an eye on everything. We did get the chance to talk to Orange County's emergency manager, Chief Avery. She was telling us their biggest concern right now, flash flooding. As you know, County in a flash flooding warning right now. She says they are prepared with their water rescue teams in case that becomes necessary, but with all the rain we're getting, you can imagine how quickly those floods can add up. Right now, her message to everybody out there is to stay home. Even if you're experiencing flooding, it's going to be more dangerous out on the roads. So just to give you a little bit of an explainer on what's going on here in the Emergency Operations Center, right now you're looking at a big black tarp. Basically, this is blocking the whole entrance, keeping this safe. This is where officials are, looking at tons of different monitors, listening to radio traffic. They can see cameras on different intersections and see what's going on out there, what they need to respond to. But they also have to direct their people, who have to be careful out here in the weather too. As you can imagine, it winds like this. It's not easy driving a fire truck or even a police car. So they even have to hunker down at times. So why that's even more important for people to stay home right now, and that continues to be the message. But they're saying right now that they still think around 2, 3 in the morning could be the worst of the storm in terms of wind and rain. They're already seeing power outages in parts of Orange County. They expect to see even more. Now, just going to give you a little bit more of a look at what we're seeing out here, because right on the pavement, you can see those bands of rain just kind of whip by as this wind just starts to pick up again. This is like another one of those bands like I was talking about before. You can see the flags whipping across, and we can hear this big screen just banging against the building all throughout the night. So I think right now we're really starting to see things pick up, and we will continue to see things pick up for the next hour or so. And if there's any major updates from county leaders, we'll be getting that right here. Right now, they have another press conference scheduled for later this morning, but if anything major happens, we'll hear from them sooner. We'll keep you updated. Back to you.
And you know, the picture that Connor is in right now is deteriorating. Really, every time we get to him, it looks worse.
It's funny because maybe an hour ago when I was on some of these areas where he is, and we can let him go, so guys, so he can get back
safe,
underneath.
Connor.
It had calmed down for a while, and now it's kicking back up.
it was calm enough that he was able to do a live interview with the chief there, and now you could see that it's really starting to pick up.
All right, so let's find out what's going on here. You guys said it was going to happen. We have who do we have over there? We got Brooks Garner once again, and we got Ian Cassette. Just checking to see who's there with us right now.
So guys, what do you got going on right now?
All right, so we're in the thick of it obviously right now, right? We got the flooding happening, we got the wind happening, and Ian and I have been analyzing the satellite image. You know, Ian, we were talking about how maybe this thing is going a little bit faster, but you had observed it's still officially going north-northeast at 8 miles an hour.
Yeah, it feels like it, but I think what we were looking at is that might be some of that drier air coming in from the south and cutting things off for this, which anything to point toward a better sign that the highest end may not
Crossing fingers.
But we're still looking like we are going to see some big rain here.
We've had a lot of rain, and there's a lot more on the way. There's a southwest component to the southwest shear, and this was, do you remember in the hurricane forecast how before when it was going to hit the Big Bend, how it was going to weaken before making landfall? That's because it was going to hit this really strong southwest wind aloft, this wind shear. And I think what's happening is it's encountering that a little bit, where essentially this is an infrared satellite image, so you're not seeing the low-level stuff as much. It gives you the image thanks to the temperature of the clouds. And with tropical clouds, they're pretty warm until you get really high up in the atmosphere. So the southwest shear is blowing a lot of the thunderstorm cloud tops to the northeast. And so it's still raining here. The center circulation, actually, believe it or not, is just about moving into Osceola County right here. So with the center circulation here, you can see like it looks like obviously most of the clouds are being blown off to the northeast. And so essentially, while the forward speed of the surface circulation is going 8 miles an hour, most of the weather looks like it's actually going a little bit faster getting out of here. We hope, crossing fingers, because we don't need any more water. We're seeing the water rise in some neighborhoods where it's going up and up, and maybe it's a couple of inches from the top of a sill of maybe a garage or maybe even a home. And this is the for another hour or two, that maybe would be all that would cause it to spill into the house or into the garage. So if we can get this out earlier, that would be great. Oh man, I wish we had control over the weather, but we don't. We can report on it and tell you what we see as far as the forecast goes. And the National Hurricane Center says by 8 a.m. the center of circulation will be located in eastern Orange County, a tropical storm, so it continues to weaken. Right now it has winds of 90, but when the next advisory comes out at 2 a.m., it'll probably be either a tropical storm already or it'll be a minimal hurricane with 75-mile-per-hour winds. We're catching gusts right now about that speed. Daytona recently had a gust to 81. Some real winds here, 81-mile-per-hour winds. By 8 p.m. tomorrow, it's going to be here off of the Atlantic. And once the center of circulation gets north of Orlando or east of Orlando, we're going to be out of the thick of it. So it's going to be on the way out. So it's very good news. But as far as future rain goes, we're probably a little more than halfway through this, maybe a little bit more than that. But we still got significant rain in the forecast to go. In fact, we could see another 8 inches in both Orlando and Oviedo, another 11 inches in DeLand, and another inches around Daytona Beach. Rain will fall off considerably because the storm obviously is moving through, but this is additional rain adding to what we've already had. We've already had 10 to 15 inches of rain around the region. Places like Northport, down toward the southwest Florida, verified with 19 to 22 inches falling. And it looks like we're well on the way to match that. But it's still pouring right now, and meteorologist Ian Cassette is tracking the center of Ian tracking Ian. Wow, there's some irony. Don't worry, we made that connection a long time ago. But now we've got flash flood warnings across the area, so it looks like the water's starting to stack up.
Yeah, and this was anticipating. We were talking about this yesterday, last couple days, that there would be this potential that the legacy of Ian not only being a very powerful storm making landfall, but as it continues, remember, just because something makes landfall, it continues on, and it may have impacts not just here in Florida, but also up in South Carolina. Locally, for us in Central Florida, it always looked like it was going to be the big rain that was going to be the issue. We're seeing that unfold here as we go on into tonight. We're seeing that heavy rain. We're seeing those rain totals start to really pile up. It's rising. In fact, we checked out the gauge there along the St. Johns River, a number of locations. We might see record-setting levels of the St. Johns River as all of this rain, all that feeds into. Take a closer look at what we're looking at right now. We have multiple flood warnings issued. The most of northern Brevard County, Volusia County, and Orange County. So a closer look. This goes until. This would be Titusville. You are under a flash flood warning. Port St. John, Cocoa, Rockledge, up along the 95. As this heavy rain is just moving in. This is all that shield of heavy rain that has brought it. And as it's moved north with Ian, we are seeing that heavy rain really coming down right along the 528. Farther to the west, a little bit closer to Orlando, we're seeing the heaviest rain right to the south of 528 until 17. And let's look at that rain rate too. That's important here on how heavy this rain is coming down. So this is just to look at, if you're looking at the rain rate per hour, we're seeing 4.9 inches per hour here. It's 7.1. These numbers are outrageous. High intense rainfall totals here that are going to be likely because of this the high rates of rainfall. And this is not really moving a whole lot. It is moving to the north, but it's also coming in what we call training, where storms just keep going over the same area as it gets fed with all of that tropical moisture. So look at that reflectivity here on what we're seeing with the radar. The heaviest rain right now, the airport to the southwest, Kissimmee, down over the attractions as well, getting that heavy rain. And then the heaviest rainfall is actually occurring over parts of Boston County here. We're looking at very heavy rain over 192 into the north. This is an area that was earlier near a tornado warning, which was we did have actually a confirmed tornado today that was in Brevard County, that only one today, but the tornado threat has diminished. In fact, the tornado watch was completely dropped. So you can rest easy tonight that the chances of a tornado are very, very low. And we are looking right now, a live view of the attractions, and you're seeing that heavy rainfall that is coming down there. Unfortunately, if you were here, some of you might actually be stuck here in Orlando because you flew in hoping to get a week of the attractions, but unfortunately Mother Nature had a different idea of it. And why don't we pull up a view of a larger area with that heaviest rain. To the northwest, we're seeing the lighter rain. We're not going to get the heavy rain totals up to our Fox 51 country, including Dixie County and Alachua County. It's going to be on the lighter side of things, and that's because the heaviest band of rain will likely run in an area that's going to stretch from Lake County through Volusia County, and also likely in this sector that runs from Polk County all the way through Orange County, where we could see these rain totals at the highest, maybe in that 15 to 20-inch range. And Brooks, this rain, it's going to be an issue here into tonight. We're expecting the heaviest rain likely through probably sunrise. I think we'll start to see things let up a little bit for the areas that have been hit the hardest, especially Orange County. And then the winds is only going to add to that tomorrow as the storm moves through.
You know, Ian, you've been doing some excellent radar tracking. Now, you know, looking at where the basically the eye wall is of this, maybe I can walk here with you. In. I was looking at the latest on this, and you know, as far as where the most intense part of the storm is, it's only now just beginning. Like, this is the core of it. We've the vibe that maybe it's winding down, but you know, let's actually just take all these warnings off so we can get a raw view at what this looks like. And putting this in motion, do you see this curvature right here? This right here is going to be the eye wall of what's left of that circulation. It's one of the outer eye walls, and it's pushing right into Orlando. So you're going to hear that wind start whistling. You're going to start seeing the wind gust maybe over 70 miles an hour from now through about 3 a.m. I mean, this is the heart of the storm. The same thing that went through Fort Myers earlier on Wednesday afternoon, and now it's rotating right through Orlando. So, you know, we're broadcasting from right here at Fox 31 in Lake Mary, and I'm watching the back edge of this thinking, like, is it going to kind of skirt to the east, or where's it going to go? But it's just really interesting to see how structurally this is all kind of coming together as far as that looks like the center of circulation, and this would be whatever's left of that eye wall.
I'm curious to see how many miles, let's pause it here, how many miles it's got to go. If it's continued going on that northeastward path and it was about 8 miles per hour, it's about 60 miles out there. So no, we're not going to do this.
Yeah, that's about 5 or 6 hours. 5 or 6 hours. Yeah.
But 5 or 6 hours, and everything on the north side of this is going to be where that heaviest rainfall will be.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the heart of it right now. So when that eye wall moves into Orlando, and I call it an eye wall, it's really a remnant eye wall. I mean, this is still a hurricane, so it's still technically an eye wall, but it's a remnant eye wall. And so as that moves through Orlando, I mean, this is it from about 1:45 to 3 a.m. We're going to have the core winds here rolling through, and the core rain. It's going to get really nasty.
I can pull up even the windfall or the rain. At least the velocity that we're seeing with this. And we're seeing probably a sample of this, of what winds that we're looking at. So this is to the south. This is covering parts of Brevard County here. And that is, or actually, there we go. 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts. And these might be to the surface. It's hard to say on if it's to the surface, but in Osceola County, 48 miles per hour.
Oh, certainly in gusts. Yeah, that's down in Indian River County.
All moving to the north.
And Ian, we're back. We got those flash flood warnings. Let's go back, put that warning layer back on and go back to the radar. I mean, these flash flood warnings are going to be significant because we're looking at, look at this. This one's in effect till, you got that, cool. This one's in effect till 4 a.m. They're tracking, the National Weather Service is tracking this band coming up through this outer eye wall, and we've had all the preamble. You know, we've had all this stuff. You hear the rain? Yeah. We've had all this stuff like leading ahead of it, all the junk ahead of it, but this is now the organized part of this tropical cyclone. That's the technical term for the spinning part, and that's now rolling right into Orlando, Ian. Look at the rainfall rates. Yeah, that's it. That's
the intensity. These are actually worsening. I think these are intensifying a little bit more as we've gone in. And when the National Weather Service were talking about this, they were saying that it was kind of loosening, or it was not as intense, but I'm thinking we're starting to see this intensifying some of the rain rates.
Absolutely, and that will happen sometimes at nighttime. Sometimes the boundaries will tighten up a little bit, and especially when you have what's becoming kind of a remnant of what was a major hurricane, it starts acquiring different characteristics than it had when it was a full-blown ocean-borne hurricane coming in. So we're starting to see that right now. Let's take a look at the winds over here as well. We've got winds that are gusting now at 58 miles an hour in Orlando with higher gusts. This is just at one location. You may hear the wind at your house whistling around. We're studios here, and we're probably 15 miles away from that outer eye core. And that's significant because, I mean, the way it sounds here, it sounds like we're having a hurricane. And essentially, we're in the vicinity of one. You can see the camera shaking on the right-hand side. That's our City Furniture Eye Drive Cam doing a scan, and it's getting buffeted around. 38 mile per hour winds in Leesburg. In Melbourne, 52 mile per hour gusts. 36 Titusville, 56 Daytona. Daytona Beach had an 81 mile per hour wind gust. Look at this wind gust. This happened a little bit earlier this evening, about 10:30, or I should say yesterday evening, to be technical, since it's 1:35 Thursday morning. 74 at Smyrna Beach, Orlando 61. So yeah, the winds are gusting out there, but this is the time right now where we're starting to get into the true core, and that's why right now we're under hurricane warning. So we're going to get through the next couple of hours. Things will improve once we get through this, but this is the real meat of the storm coming through at this very moment. From New Smyrna Beach all the way south through Osceola County, the hurricane is experiencing its full force right here over Orlando. And Ian, we're enduring it. And what do you have right now over there? It looks like you've got the rainfall over the past 24 hours. What are the totals looking like now?
I'm surprised at some of these numbers being as low. I would expect it to be higher by now, but
of course, these are radar estimates.
These are radar estimates. These are never exact, but they're a good idea of it. And right now, we have seen the rainfall over this stretch that kind of runs through northern parts of Brevard County, right through into Osceola County. The Florida Turnpike is right here, and then from Polk County, if you're familiar with Polk County, we've got Lakeland, we've got Haines City, and we're going to the north, right to the east of, or kind of bisecting downtown Orlando, and then right through Volusia County. So this is that sector that has seen the heaviest rainfall so far. I think we're going to see, as this system goes to the north, that will just expand. That will just kind of expand farther to the north, as we'll have areas like Deltona, DeLand. You'll probably include Altamont Springs up here in Lake Mary. We'll likely see these numbers really ramp up because we're seeing the heavy rates of rainfall. We're seeing rainfall rates of 5 to 7 inches an hour, and then you have, if you estimate a few more hours of that, and then we're going to probably pick up an additional 5 to 10 inches in some spots and add on to what we've already seen. So that is dangerous rainfall rates that, or at least from conditions, we could be dealing with some flash flooding across many areas going on into Thursday morning.
We've got hours of this to go, and you're right. And the camera to the right, you're seeing in the double box there, that's a view from our SunTrust cam looking down, and it almost looks like a windshield on a highway. You know, when you're going down the highway at 75 miles an hour and the rain kind of, you got the Rain-X on there, you know, kind of grows off to the side. I mean, that's effectively what's happening at the top of that building there. They're catching hurricane force wind gusts. Well,
as far as going every which direction too.
It's sure, yeah, you're right. It's whipping back and forth, and that's so typical with these systems. You know, going back to the future radar, here's 2 a.m. about where we are. This is a depiction of what the radar essentially is going to look like inside of about the next 20 minutes. Does a good job depicting that center circulation. Here's Orlando. This little feature here, this vertical feature here that goes from Orlando down through Kissimmee, is essentially the heart of the northwest eye wall, and there's arguably sort of an outer eye wall adjacent to it, but this is going to work north and really kick in through 4 a.m. So, you know, areas northwest of Orlando are going to start to sample that. The center circulation will be generally right about here, and it only slowly works northward. So by 7:30, it'll be sitting about where the forecast is from the National Hurricane Center, probably near the Titusville area for the center circulation. But at that moment in time, once Orlando hits that point where the latitude of the hurricane is north of Orlando and the longitude of that northeastbound hurricane is east of Orlando, conditions will rapidly improve. But areas to the north, Daytona, you'll still be in the thick of it through daybreak tomorrow. And it looks like it may kind of slow down up here a little bit and really start to pump in a lot of heavy rain up toward Daytona Beach before it finally makes it out into the open ocean through the day tomorrow. So it continues, it certainly does. And I'm telling you, I've been through some hurricanes, Ian, but it's probably the building we're in, that's sort of the physics of being in a building. But to hear that constant whistle, Cat 5 hurricanes, they call it the witch's scream. Now, I wouldn't go as far as saying it sounds like that, where it's really howling, but you can tell we've got a sustained wind here of what's probably 35 to 40 miles an hour. At the station, we've probably had over a half a foot of rain.
Long.
It continues. What are the wind gusts looking like on your map there?
Yeah, the winds have picked up in some spots. We are seeing those wind gusts that have reached up to 60 miles per hour in Claremont. We're on the northern end. Lakeland's down at 67 mile per hour winds. We are at 57 mile per hour winds in Orlando, 51 mile per hour winds in Sanford, and 56 mile per hour winds in Daytona Beach. So these are tropical storm force winds that we are seeing in many areas. We do have many that are under still a hurricane warning because of the fact that we still could see some gusts maybe above up to 70 to 80 miles per hour, that 80 mile per hour range, getting into that hurricane, weak hurricane range, but it's still very strong winds, 70 to 80 mile per hour. You know, when we talk about severe thunderstorms, we talk about 58 mile per hour winds and stronger. That's when you get damaging winds. So now we're looking at the storm and we're seeing 60 mile per hour winds. That would be a severe thunderstorm warning if this was just an everyday thunderstorm. 56 mile per hour. In Orlando, we're seeing severe winds, essentially, and that's the way you should look at it as we go into tonight. We have flooding, and then we have the winds combination. And Brooks, that's why I'm thinking we're going to have more down trees. We're going to are probably waking up to seeing unfortunate sights where their neighborhood will look a little bit different because of those trees.
You know, your favorite oak tree, that's what happens in these storms. But there are also oak trees in Florida that are hundreds of years old that have been through scores of storms and make it so. We're crossing fingers that this is just going to blow through. We'll be good and unscathed, but we know the reality. Let's talk about the forecast winds through 2 a.m. Documented that we've had anywhere from 10 to 15 inches of rain and a stripe that very closely resembles the forecast going from northeast to southwest. Now we're looking at the future winds that as the center of Hurricane Ian rests in southern Osceola County, gusting to 63 miles an hour. Kenansville, mile per hour wind gusts. So the heart of it, heading up into Brevard County. You know, Brevard County, we've been watching your weather for most of the day today, and for most of the day today, it's been somewhat tolerable. I know we had those bands of rain earlier. We had a couple of tornado warnings. The stuff that verified was over in Osceola County, but then we had a pretty much quiet spell. Now it's not so quiet. You're catching those core winds from the east eye wall of Ian. We'll have 59-mile-per-hour gusts around Orlando, maybe up to 60. And as the center of circulation works north through 415, Kissimmee, you're going to see the conditions actually kind of calming down for a little bit of an eye of the storm where you might catch a couple of gusts around 20 miles an hour, maybe 30. But look how calm it gets around 6:30. Winds down to 18 in Kissimmee, 24 in Orlando, but still gusting around 40 because we're kind of on the back edge of that. But interestingly enough, Claremont and Leesburg tomorrow morning. And we haven't talked much about you guys over there in Lake and Sumter counties because you haven't been in the thick of it as far as where the worst of this has been. But tomorrow morning, you're going to experience some of the worst winds. And so with the rain that fell today, it's loosened everything up. The trees are, you know, they're buffeted around, but when the ground gets muddy like that, it doesn't take much. And so we're going to get 53-mile-per-hour winds gusting in the Villages, Claremont 50 and 45, and right on through about 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, the higher wind gusts. DeLand, 55-mile-per-hour winds. Melbourne, 54-mile-an-hour winds. DeLand, you'll be on the northwest side of Ian. Melbourne, tomorrow morning, you'll be on the southeast side of Ian. Daytona, 58-mile-per-hour winds. You're going to be getting an onshore wind, and that's tomorrow when the storm surge is going to develop in earnest over here from Volusia County north through Flagler and St. Johns County and on into the Nassau County area once you get into the Jacksonville area. So that's going to be a factor. We're going to have an onshore flow. Meanwhile, down here in Melbourne, it'll be an offshore flow, and so we may actually see the tide going out just a little farther than maybe it normally would. By 2 o'clock tomorrow, the center circulation is going to be offshore. We're going to be catching a strong north wind tomorrow, gusting to 50 in Orlando, gusting to about 43 in Leesburg. So while all this rain is finally going to be over tomorrow, at least the really heavy stuff, I mean, it's still going to rain tomorrow. It's just not going to be this extreme rain. It's still going to be really windy, just as far as the sensible weather goes, and that brings up a safety concern because with the rain we've had, we've been talking about trees can fall when the ground's wet and the wind blows. But as you're out tomorrow surveying some of the damage maybe in your backyard, you know, be aware of what's around. You know, with the kids running around the yard, I've got a couple of kids that are running around the yard. They love to get out. We're all stir crazy, but there's still a danger out there with the trees falling, with the wind blowing tomorrow. The system in the afternoon, we're still going to get winds of 53 in Pearson. Look at this in Palm Coast tomorrow. This is new. Tomorrow, I keep saying tomorrow. Let me say Thursday, because today technically it's Thursday. It's 1:45 in the morning Thursday. For me, it's still Wednesday night. But that said, for Thursday in the afternoon, 72-mile-per-hour wind gusts at Palm Coast. That's some big wind there at Palm Coast. That's an onshore flow. That's going to up the ante as far as storm surge. So while Orlando is starting to emerge from this thing Thursday night, it's only going to continue to ramp up from Daytona all the way up through Flagler County. We can see higher gusts from there. So this continues. The rain continues. And Ray and John, we're going to have team coverage continuing as well with a whole new crew coming in here inside of 15 minutes.
And, you know, I just saw Allison Gargaro walk in, so we are looking forward to seeing her take over for you. You know, we're still keeping an eye on that picture, that live picture in Orlando where the lights are still on. And as Brooks was talking about, that weather is making its way towards Orlando. The heaviest winds, really, that we've seen all night, making their way towards Orlando. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Our live team coverage of Hurricane Ian continues now with Fox 35's Valerie Boy. She joins us live from Celebration, where she might be.
She has been, well, she's been all over this place, shall we say, and then they even kicked her out at one point. And, so we'll find out what she's doing right now. So you're at a shelter. A lot of good work's actually going on there, Val.
Oh, yeah. From the distance here, you could see the people sleeping inside the gym. I actually walked around and saw people sleeping soundly. It was kind of neat. Kids are out cold, so I was happy for them that they could sleep. And some adults were still up and at 'em trying to sleep. But again, it's you can hear the rain coming down on the roof and all. We have people from all walks. We have senior citizens, homeless, and even tourists. And joining me now over here is Rory Westford from England. And Rory, tell me, why did you come here to Celebration?
Hi. We came on a wish. My son had cancer in 2017. And obviously COVID came along and put the wish on hold for 2 years.
And so you found just now.
Everything through. Florida with the world. We spent a week in their village, and the charity at the centre said you have a week to explore the rest of Florida.
So was this the trail end of your vacation, or was this the middle of it?
It's the last few days, so it's been an experience, maybe a bit more of an experience than we were expecting, if I'm being honest.
And so you have a picture of your son, correct? What is his name?
His name's Evan.
Evan. And how old is he?
He is 9 now.
So tell me, how is he doing here at the shelter?
He's always been very adaptive. He's good, but it's a little bit stressful.
So we have a picture here.
For the family.
And
yes.
The picture. He's in the blue. Just adorable. And how is he?
Yeah, he's doing. It's a bit difficult. I think probably a little bit too scared to go to sleep earlier. But my wife was really worried, being that we're not from this country. So we just packed everything up, put it in the back of the car, and said, "Let's go." I saw the news channel saying there's a shelter. That's it.
When?
Evening. So yeah, whether we get back beforehand, I don't know now.
Any word from your airline?
Nothing from the airline. Play it by ear. Hopefully check today and see if they're still flying. But we'll see.
Okay, well, we're going to be following your trip and all, and we hope you get home safely.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Rory. And so, again, here at the shelter, we have around 80 people staying inside that gym. And again, the volunteers say they're not going to lock their doors, that people can still keep coming on in. Back to you guys.
Valerie, by the way, has anybody come in since this latest storm kind of came through our area? Has anybody else come in, or has it been quiet now?
It's been pretty quiet. Probably went in around 10:30. But we did have some people dropping off donations, blankets and pillows and stuff, maybe around 11. Oh, yeah, and they were drenched. They like, what are you doing? And they're like, it's really inspiring. Really do care about other people.
And Valerie, I don't want you to go outside, but I am just curious, how is the rain? Are you hearing, what is the weather like that you're hearing outside? You don't have to go out there. I don't want you to get wet, but just curious if you're still hearing a similar storm system that you were hearing before.
So we heard, we could hear the rain pounding on the door. I'm going to open up the door. I won't make Javi go outside, but let's take a look here. Oh.
Yeah.
Can you see?
It's still going on, Val.
Yeah, it's like whipping around, and you see the palm fronds whipping around and the signs and the rain. Honestly, it seems like we still have, that sideways rain still going. So,
yeah.
It doesn't seem like as hard though. Like I don't feel like that that rain and wind hurts. You know what I'm saying? Like during some hurricanes, you get out there and it stings, like you got bee stings all over your face. This one didn't feel like that. But so again, it could be just because it's
it could be a little slow. It kind of looks that way. All right, Val, great story tonight. We'll talk to you in just a little bit.
Really, that was really hard.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Val.
All right, our team coverage continues with Fox 35's Dave Puglisi. He is live in the Fox 35 Storm Team Thunder Truck.
And Dave, what are things looking like where you are? We know you're now in the Thunder Truck. Before you were standing beside it to kind of shield yourself from that heavy wind and rain. What are you seeing out on the roads?
Yeah, the roads are pretty empty at the moment in time. Nobody's out on the roads, as they shouldn't be. It's also, about 1:45 in the morning. But I want to give you guys a look. This is I-4 on State Road 35 as you try to get on over here. I'm not exactly sure which exit it is, but this is coming up towards the hotel where we were staying. You can see on one side of the highway, they all have power. Everything's looking great. But on this side, over where we were staying, you can see that there is no power. It's pitch black over here. I'll switch to the roof cam. We have night vision, so you could see a better look at some of the buildings here. But yes, there is no power. We have one car passing by. There's an intersection right here in front of us that is completely black right now, which of course can cause some issues when cars are coming up to it. Of course, if you're in a situation like this and the power's out, it's supposed to act like a giant four-way stop sign. Oh, there's a car broken down right here that guy just had to avoid. Not sure what's going on with that car, but yeah. So this is where we stayed last night. It's pretty dark, but it's been these. I just was listening to Brooks a moment ago where he talked about those whistling winds that were ripping past all night at the station. That was all we heard last night against our windows. That branches, just debris. It was a constant sound. It was eerie because at times the winds were gusting up to 75 miles per hour. We could hear the doors rattling. They had to use brooms to keep the doors locked at the hotel, and it was concerning. It was scary to think what was going on outside at certain times. It's definitely eased up now. The track of the storm definitely speeded up a bit. We thought around 2 a.m. we would see the eye of the storm come past us, but that really moved a bit quicker than we thought. And now it's, as we know, getting much closer to Orlando, and you're going to start to see some of those winds and what you're hearing over there in Lake Mary, which is what so many other people have been hearing for so long. There's another intersection we're coming up to here now that's also without power, which again, just causes so many issues in this area. And I think, as we know about in the last city, it was mentioned about half the people in Polk County are without power right now. We are in Lakeland and in Polk County, but it's just been it's been an interesting day for sure. The Thunder Truck and I have been everywhere since Sunday. We went down as far as Fort Myers, as far north as Newport Richey, back to Tampa, and then out here to Lakeland. So we've seen just about every part of this storm, people preparing, and hopefully everybody took the precautions seriously, because most people staying at this hotel did. They wanted to make sure that they were safe because they didn't trust where they were, and that's one of the biggest things. Even if you're not in an evacuation zone or were asked to leave, the story was always, if you didn't feel safe, make sure you evacuate and get to a safe place. These people did. They can rest easy knowing they're okay. Hopefully their property is okay. But that's the latest here in Lakeland. I'll send it back to you guys.
Dave, I'm glad you said that also about the whistling, because that's the one thing that I think starts to wear on you after a while. I mean, the rain's one thing, yeah, the flood and all that, but that constant whistling sound, knowing there's something bad going on outside, that does get to you, Dave.
Yeah, for sure. That was the hardest part, especially, it's interesting. Obviously, we work in news, right? We want to report the news, and it was hard to take a break because I just wanted to be out there and show you guys what we were seeing and hearing and feeling and give that real experience, because we were all going through it. It was just an incredible experience witnessing this storm from where we did. It didn't have the power, of course, that it had down in Fort Myers, but it was still incredibly strong, and it's just an amazing thing to see. As somebody who comes from the north and hasn't really witnessed hurricanes up to this magnitude, I almost see it as a giant blizzard in a sense, but the winds are just so much stronger than what I would ever see in a blizzard, because obviously those aren't ripping down trees like this does or throw things around. But when I came outside and saw poles bent in half, it just showed the power of what was going on outside of our window all night.
Yeah, Dave, usually we're used to seeing blizzards up north. Nothing like this, nothing like hurricanes, which is what you've had to deal with crisscrossing the state, and we appreciate all the hard work that you and your photojournalists have done throughout the last 2 days. Right now, Sanford police are warning people to stay off the roads.
Yeah, we're seeing some damage in Seminole County right now in some areas. We told you about a massive tree down in Altamont Springs a little earlier, smashed a car window right there. Officials in the area urging people to avoid the roads due to the storm conditions as they continue for the next few hours. We spoke with the emergency manager, Alan Harris, earlier, and he shared just how long the cleanup could last, too.
It looks like we would have about 1 million cubic yards of debris at this point, based on the current forecast, the current modeling that we've done. 1 million cubic yards of debris. I want people to, it's hard for me to put that in my head. 11 spaceship Earths. Most of us have been to Epcot Center, seen the ball there. 11 of those will have to pick up after the storm. That's the model again. So a lot of debris out in the roadway, a lot of debris in people's yards, things like that they'll be clearing up. And then we'll have to have our units go through, our debris contractors and folks to go through. So it's going to take us a while, weeks, months to get all the debris picked up.
11 spaceship Earths. So that really puts it into perspective for you as to how much work is ahead of them. Right now in Volusia County, Lake Harney is swelling over its banks. This video shows how choppy the water is there. Wind speeds are also starting to pick up on the Volusia County side of the lake. It's definitely time, as I'm sure at 1:56 a.m. people are indoors if they live nearby.
Jacob!
All right, there's a lot going on here. An elderly man rescued by a band of strangers, risking their own lives in neck-deep flooding waters. This is out of Bonita Springs, which is another area we've been showing you that got hammered as Ian passed by. One of these Good Samaritans posted later saying the older man's car door was wedged shut and everyone nearby immediately jumped into action. Also, Lake County, tons of downed trees already getting cleaned up there. Lake County Sheriff's Office posted this before the sun went down. Crews made quick work of some big trees that were sprawled across Osgood Road near Lave Avenue.
More people are sharing videos online of the damage in their neighborhood. Take a look at this. This is the first we've seen in the Fox 35 newsroom tonight. A boat washed right up onto someone's yard in Cape Coral. Of course, that part of the state seeing the worst of this all. As the sun rises, we'll definitely see more damage and strange debris left over around people's properties. Of course, the water carrying a lot of that debris that we've seen throughout the day. And of course, as the sun comes out, we're going to see a lot more of images like this.
Yeah, we have a couple of crews, by the way, on the way down to Fort Myers. So we're going to see exactly once the sun comes up what they got there.
Take a look at this. Powerful new pictures and videos giving us a better idea of just how much damage done in the Fort Myers area we've been talking about. This was taken just a few hours ago, and it's easy to see the flooding there already devastating. Homes are flooded up to their windows. I mean, you could see, all you could see from the trees are the tree tops right there. Debris can be seen floating. It looks like it's part of buildings potentially collapsed or washed away. Winds are still strong enough that it's tough to make out exactly what we're looking at, but as a reminder, storm surge is expected to reach at least 8 feet high in the peak of the storm.
Holy that's a tornado.
Yeah, also in Fort Myers, this viewer, Becky Hinshaw, sent this our way, showing the view from her balcony. Okay, we don't know yet if they actually saw a tornado, but we do know the winds were whipping around fast. You can see the whole pavilion of her apartment complex and the pool area completely underwater. She also filmed the stairwell. Here she goes. She's going to wander down there a little bit. That's the stairwell leading to the parking garage, totally cut off by floodwater at that point as well. One other note here, if you're watching this right now, you've been probably monitoring a lot of this. One thing that came up earlier is the St. Johns River. It's going to get all of this water because all these tributaries flood into that. And then the emergency management director said that flood's probably going to take place a week from now.
And that's what's going to cause the 11 spaceship Earths he was talking about. That's going to cause the cleanup lasting into next week.
You've got so much. So you've got tomorrow, cleanup begins after this gets out of the way. And then for the next week or so, you're still going to have disasters happening. So there's a lot to get through.
And I'm curious to see what's going to happen in Tampa Bay when the water comes back.
Yeah, and I did see a couple of videos with the flood or the water coming back in a little south of there, and it was strong coming in. So we'll see the damage this morning.
Well, strong winds are a big concern across our area right now, especially because they can take down huge trees.
Yeah, one of them came down right on someone's house in Belle Isle. Fox 35's Marie Ettinger is surveying the damage.
The wind and rain has really picked up here. We've been checking in with this wind speed meter, and the wind has really not dipped below 10 miles per hour for a while now. It'll hover just below and then go straight back up, and that's what's leading to things like this area. You can see this tree fell straight over this home here in Belle Isle. So it landed over the kitchen and the garage area. Fortunately, everyone inside is doing just fine. They are a-okay. They're actually still wandering around in there, and they do still have power for now. What is concerning, though, is that there is another portion of a tree or another tree that is leaning very heavily. We talked with an arborist who lives in this neighborhood who says with the amount of rain that's coming down, drenching that tree and making its limbs heavy, you can see how the wind is pushing it, and it is just leaning so far over that arborist is expecting that tree is likely to come down directly over the road, probably sometime tonight, he told us. Now, fortunately, there are 2 exits to this neighborhood, so even if the tree does block the road, people will still be able to get out. But you see that that branch right in the driveway there, pretty large. We've seen branches of that size all over the neighborhood. A pretty big one actually hit our car as we were driving back over here just a few moments ago. This neighborhood is just getting pelted, and it is not seeming like it's going to stop anytime soon. In fact, it has only been getting worse the entire time we have